11 hours and 500 kilometers later, we arrive in Khon Kaen in the early hours of the morning. We then walk to our hotel, check in and have a well-deserved nap. Waking up and stepping outside, we're greeted by the blistering heat of Khon Kaen, and it turns out this area is having a heat wave up to 45 degrees. We got 1 hour into an hour and a half journey and had to turn back. The heat is just too much. We did have a lot planned for Khon Kaen, but the heat just made it impossible to make it anywhere. Instead, we explored some of the temples that are nearer to where we're staying in Khon Kaen. As well as heading out on a little backroads adventure that Em wasn't too keen on. After making it back, we chilled by the lake in the centre of town, then headed out for dinner. Today is another scorcher, which leaves us nothing to do but head to the park. When the temperatures cooled down a bit in the evening, we explored the park, which had a lot of strange things going on. Today is another travel day, so after spending most of the day packing our bags, we grabbed some food, then headed to the bus stop. Then headed to the right bus stop. That's when the temperatures dropped and a storm started brewing. Before long, our bus arrived and we jumped aboard. Next stop, a 12-hour journey to the far north of Thailand, Chiang Mai. After a very pleasant bus journey, we arrived in Chiang Mai. We then got a taxi to our hotel, checked in, and spent the rest of the day just chilling by the pool. And in the evening, we got a Thai food takeaway.
Today we head on a 100-kilometre loop around the Chiang Mai mountains. First stop, the Carp Cafe. This cafe was pretty cool. It's like a mini indoor jungle surrounded by thousands of fish.
Yeah, okay.
After chilling here for a while, cooling off and enjoying our extortionately priced drinks, we headed off to the next place. But But we didn't make it very far because our bike engine light came on, so we had to pull over. After contacting the bike rental place, waiting an hour for them to bring us a new bike, we made it on our way. To the next viewpoint with some pretty cool views of Chiang Mai.
After soaking in the views for a while, we headed to our next stop. A small Thai village where they all compete in go-karting as a sport. And you can pay to borrow one of their go-karts to go down the hill.
Off he goes.
Their idea of go-karts is very different to ours, but still very fun nonetheless.
After making it back down in one piece, we headed off again. Next stop, Queen's Garden. But there was a nice big car park, so I took the opportunity to spend a bit more time learning to ride the bike. It wasn't long before I'd had enough of doing figure of eights around the car park, so we headed off on the canopy walk.
This was our second canopy walk on our trip, but it still shocks me how surreal it is to be walking around a level of the canopy that humans don't usually get to explore. After the canopy walk, we headed to the greenhouse area of the Queen's Botanical Garden. I love this sort of thing, and I could have spent hours here, but unfortunately the park was closing soon, so we had to go. On the way back, we stopped at a waterfall, so obviously had to bust out a bit of parkour.
And just like that, the day came to an end. And we headed for our first roast dinner since being here. And my God, it was the best thing ever. Those Yorkshires taste just as good as they look. After finishing those roasts, we were fit to pop, so we headed to the local night market for a foot massage. And then we stumbled across a local Thai basketball game, which was really entertaining. We sat there for hours. Today is another day of exploring. First stop, a butterfly farm. Although Tom told me we were going to see bumblebees, so when I walked into a butterfly farm, I was pretty happy. After spending some time with the butterflies, we headed to the actual bee garden.
Here, we're educated on everything Thai bee farming, and even got to see some live bees, including local and imported colonies. Plus, a lucky viewing of a queen bee. Included as part of this free tour was also tastings of pollen, royal jelly, and honey. Moving on, we headed to a famous Chiang Mai snake show.
After the man trying and failing to get me to hold even the small snake, Tom enjoyed having them both round his neck for a while before we headed to watch the cobra show. I think the Thai men could clearly see the fear on my face because they definitely picked on me during the show. After that traumatic hour, it was time to head to the next place, an insect museum. As we wandered round, Tom loved looking at all the big spiders, while I swiftly moved on to the tortoises. And then I was really brave and held a humongous stick insect. And don't be alarmed about the state of my hands. My eczema just doesn't like the heat. After seeing Tom's fascination about the stick insect, the ladies asked if he wanted to hold a tarantula and a scorpion. I just filmed it from a distance. Ugh. After our super busy day, we headed for some much needed dinner. After a very wet journey, we made it to Tam Luang Cave, where we climbed thousands of steps to get up to it, so by this point, we were melting. After exploring this huge cave for a while, we headed back down the steps and onto our next destination, the hot springs. The hot spring pools are so hot that you can buy eggs to boil in there. And then there's places where you can dangle your feet in, but you have to be crazy to do that. Clearly Tom is one of the crazy ones. Then I decided that I'd quite like some new clothes, so we headed to the local shopping mall. But instead of leaving with any clothes, we left with donuts, sweets and croissants, so not quite what we went in for. Then it was time to head back after our busy day, and we stopped for some dinner on the way. Today we're heading to a sticky waterfall, but first catching some sun by the pool. After topping up our tans in the sunshine, we headed to the sticky waterfall, which is literally what it says on the tin. It's so grippy that you can literally just walk straight up.
After all that hard work, I of course needed some lunch.
We then headed home to have a shower and go out for dinner, but at this point decided we couldn't be bothered to go out, so got a very cheeky McDonald's. Today we spent the day at a nearby lake where there's little huts that you can rent for £1 each. They also have really tasty food, which they deliver to your hut.
During our time in that lake, we repeatedly saw a helicopter come back to collect water. And when we researched it later, we found out there's a giant forest fire nearby. And they're coming back here to refill their buckets to dump on the fire.
After having a nice day by the lake, we headed home, which is when the rain came. What better to do while it's raining than to get a pedicure? Today is a very exciting day as we head to Jungle Flight.
Jungle Flight is a ziplining circuit high up in the treetops with the longest zipline over 1,000 metres. The journey there was a challenge in itself and one of the most difficult roads I've ridden on so far. After arriving in one piece, we got kitted up and then headed on our way.
London!
This was so much fun, and the workers there made it 10 times better. They were so funny.
Leg up! Yep. Okay, leg up high. Okay. Okay.
About halfway through, they have a jungle coaster. After the jungle coaster, we continued our zipline adventure, heading higher and higher up. And eventually we made it to the 1,000 metre zipline, the longest zipline in all of Thailand. After watching Em disappear into the treetops, it was my turn. And oh my god, it did not disappoint.
Give me your hand.
After that exhilarating experience, the circuit finished with an abseil straight down.
After making it back down in one piece, we headed for some yummy lunch with our group. After that super fun day, we headed for some dinner. Well, more like breakfast as we got bacon baguettes, but it was dinner time, so we can call it dinner. Today, we head to the Elephant Nature Park, something that we've been so excited for since arriving here.
We waited so long because the Elephant Nature Park is different from all the other elephant experiences in Thailand. The Elephant Nature Park is run by Lek, an internationally recognised animal activist who helps countries far and wide stop companies using elephants as entertainment. And from our research, it was the only place in Thailand that didn't endorse riding, bathing with humans, trekking, or any other unnecessary human interaction. A lot of the elephants rescued and brought into this park are from the logging industry, where they are tortured into dragging logs around the forest until they die of exhaustion or from landmine injuries.
This poor girl is called Meadow, and she's got a broken hip from logging and forced mating for 60 years. She was rescued 18 years ago and has spent the last 18 years at the Elephant Nature Park, but still needs painkillers every day. Some of the female elephants that have been rescued were pregnant, so there's loads of little baby elephants.
They flicked mud on their back as a natural sunscreen, and it was just so nice watching elephants be elephants. A lot of the elephants in the park still carry their scars from previous lives, whether that be blind from the human hand or old injuries from exploded landmines.
This Elephant Nature Park was honestly so amazing. They've got 130 rescued elephants just roaming around freely.
They also have over 6,000 other animals that live in this huge riverside sanctuary that also expands deep into the jungles.
Then it was lunchtime, and the buffet here was so good. Also made 10 times better as we ate it watching all the animals. After lunch, it was time to go and see some more elephants, this time bathing in the river.
All that swimming is obviously hungry work for the baby elephants.
After watching the elephants and their babies splash around in the river for a while, we headed to check in to our room. Which was surprisingly nice, considering we're in an elephant park. There are some elephants, the ones that aren't injured or blind, that get to spend the day in the jungle, and they come back to bed by walking through the river. Today, we headed off to see some more elephants.
We loaded up our bags with snacks for the elephants, and it's their choice if they want to come over and eat them or not.
We had such an amazing guide who clearly cares so much about the elephants and knew all of their backstories. It was so amazing to be so close to the elephants and get to feed them.
Oh my god.
We then headed back to the camp and made an elephant cake, if you can call it that. It was just mushed fruit and sticky rice. But it's safe to say she absolutely loved it. And then sadly, our elephant experience was over, so we hopped in the minivan and headed back to our hotel. Today is the first day of the Mae Hong Son Loop.
Leaving our big bags at our hotel, we brought 5 days worth of clothes and packed it onto the bike. The Mae Hong Son Loop is a massive motorbike circuit in the northern mountains of Thailand. It's going to be 5 days of battling over 2,000 hairpin bends over a distance of 700 kilometres. Along the way, we'll be staying at accommodation in local villages rarely visited by foreign tourists. Day 1 is an 100-kilometre, 4.5-hour journey to the small village of Sapong. The roads start pretty flat, but quickly turn to steep, twisty mountain paths. Before long, we were running low on fuel and had to fill up. These self-filling fuel stations also play music when you pump your fuel, which is pretty gnarly. And just like that, the mountain road started again. So we pulled over to take in the view. As we neared our destination, we pulled over again. This time, to grab a cold drink and rest our sore bottoms. After an hour or so more navigating the mountainous roads, we arrived at our accommodation for the night. This little hut, hidden in the mountainous region of Sepong, is one of our favourite accommodations so far, and it's only costing us £10 for the night. We had dinner delivered by our lovely host, sat on our porch and ate it, and enjoyed the nice rural view. As night fell, we had a power cut, which didn't last long, all just part of staying out in the sticks in Thailand. Today, we say goodbye to our little slice of Thai paradise, wave farewell to our lovely host, and we head on our way on a 70-kilometre journey to Mae Hong Son town. But first, we stop at Nam Not Cave, a cave well renowned in northern Thailand for its massive size and natural beauty. After you make it past the entrance, which is pretty smelly because of the backdroppings, the cave inside is extremely impressive. Ignoring the squeaking bats on the ceiling, we ventured further into the cave, where you can see loads of rock formations, including a crocodile appearing from the floor, and also a snake coming down from the roof. Also included as part of the tour is a bamboo raft boat trip. There is the option to venture further into the cave here, but we began to get rained on by bat poo, so quickly turned around and got out. Em also wanted to use the toilet at the park, but I think she can hold it for a bit longer. Back on the bike, we continue through the stunning Thai countryside to our destination of Mae Hong Son town. And before long, we found ourselves stopping again, just to take in the gorgeous scenery. Another stop in the middle of the mountains. I don't think we're ever going to make it to Mae Hong Son. Back on the bike, and almost now at our destination, we make one last stop to the Bamboo Bridge. "70 kilometres through the twisting turns of rural Thailand and 2 sore bottoms later, we made it to Mae Hong Son town. Starting the day off right with a 7-Eleven breakfast, today is a 175-kilometre journey to Mae Sarang town. This journey took us through miles of Thai farmland. It's so fascinating to see. But before long, we were in the mountains again and pulling over to take in the view. Running low on fuel again, we had to pull over. And before long, we made it to another slice of rural Thai paradise in Mae Sarang town. This accommodation also had a cafe on site with yummy food. Such a bonus. Starting the day off right again with a 7-Eleven breakfast. We head to Mae Chiang, a 132-kilometre journey towards the highest peaks in all of Thailand. But before we know it, the weather's turned against us and we have to unpack our rain mats from the bike. As we passed through more and more countryside Thai towns, the rain subsided, so we decided to pull over to explore. Stretching our legs for a quick walk through this pine forest, water buffaloes were definitely the last thing we were expecting to see. But after that quick stop, we're back on the road, navigating the twisting turns. As we neared the town of Mae Hong, we stopped one more time. Arriving in Mae Hong, we quickly headed straight out for some yummy food. Today, on our little Honda Click, we head up hundreds of curves to Doi Intanon, the tallest mountain in Thailand, standing 2,565 metres, and then continue another 150 kilometres through mountain roads back to Chiang Mai. As we gained altitude, the temperature dramatically dropped, so we had to stop to put on some more layers. Now up in the clouds, we're both freezing on the bike, so we both put on our coats. Nearing the top and the roads getting steeper, the bike was beginning to struggle. With only 1 kilometre to go, the bike was really struggling with the lack of oxygen. But a few twists and turns later, we made it to the highest spot in Thailand. Unfortunately, not much of a view, but an achievement nonetheless. And after a bit of exploring, we headed back down. On the way down, we stopped at Waterfall, which is over 80 metres tall. And then we were back on the bike for the last 100 kilometres through mountain roads and then motorway to Chiang Mai. Well, 700 kilometres later, our little Honda Click made it back to Chiang Mai, where we got our big bags back, showered and changed, and then jumped in a taxi to the Chiang Mai bus station. We will be jumping on a minivan and transferring to the rural town of Pai. This minivan is only a few hours, but oh my god, the roads were so twisty and turny. We both got travel sick during this journey.
After the most awful journey, we made it to Pai. We then had a short walk to our hotel, checked in, and were ready for bed. Today, we spent the morning chilling by the pool, but as it's rainy season, the sunshine disappeared in the afternoon, so we headed for a curry. The Elephant Nature Park was such a highlight of our trip for both of us, so we wanted to get something to remember it by. So, we began designing our tattoos. After a few hours of drawing, well, Tom drawing, me just watching, we headed out to explore some local tattoo shops and potentially book it in, but instead, we got it there and then. There was the option to have a machine tattoo or a bamboo tattoo, so Tom went first to suss out the pain level of having it done with bamboo. After him telling me it wasn't too bad, I opted to also have a bamboo tattoo, but oh my god did it hurt. We didn't have high hopes for the quality of the tattoo, but we were both really surprised with how good they were. Feeling very happy with our new tattoos, we headed back to the hotel. Today, we headed on what was meant to be a really nice waterfall walk. We hadn't hired a bike yet, so we had to walk to the starting point. The reviews for this walk said that there was a couple of river crossings, but that you could balance on the rocks so you didn't actually get wet feet. But that was definitely not our experience. We had to walk through the river. It was on about the 10th river crossing that a snake brushed past my leg. And I do not like snakes, so in the panic, I fell over.
A little bit muddy.
In a state of shock that a snake had touched my leg and us roasting in the heat, we decided it was probably best to turn back.
So, with Tom in his squelchy trainers and me with my muddy legs, we made our way back.
But not before spotting this awesome giant bug.
After what felt like the longest walk back ever, we made it and spent the rest of the day by the pool.
And then I saved this little dude who was trapped in the train.
Then it was time to head out for dinner and went to the night market where I got the yummiest smoothie. Today we're off to the Long Neck Karen village. This is such an isolated village, and the Long Neck tribe that live there aren't recognised as Thai people. They wear heavy metal rings around their neck, which over time compresses their ribcage and gives the illusion of a longer neck. It was quite a surreal experience, seeing people actually live like that. After spending some time with the Long Neck Karens, buying a little souvenir, we headed on our walk back. By this time, the midday heat was roasting, so we had a smoothie pit stop. As we got back into the Pai town centre, we could hear some music and lots of Brits, and then we realised it was Tipsy Tubing Day. Tipsy tubing is basically a load of drunk tourists floating down a dirty river in a rubber ring, so we decided to give that one a miss. And just as we got back, the rain came. And as it was so much cooler, we decided to go into the gym. After absolutely melting in the gym, we took a dip in the pool and headed out for dinner. This morning we headed out to explore a bit more of Pai, and our first stop was the strawberry farm. After ordering a strawberry smoothie and enjoying the views, Tom got summoned to play football with a little boy. It's amazing how easily pleased the children are here. A plastic bottle and someone to play with, this little boy would have played football for hours. After melting in the sun and cutting his feet, Tom told the little boy that he'd had enough of playing football. So then he suggested downloading a football game on Tom's phone.
After hours of playing two-player games, it was finally time for us to head off.
Our next stop was a visit to the Sanjichon village. A very strange experience as it was quite abandoned, but they have a Great Wall of China replica, which is pretty cool.
This evening, we headed up to Pine Canyon to watch the sunset. We knew that this was quite a popular spot to watch the sunset and that lots of tourists would be there, but we didn't expect it to be quite as busy as it was.
We came across loads of big groups of people playing music out their speakers, which wasn't the vibe we were looking for. We decided to revisit another day.
And good job really, because then in came the rain. Despite the rain, we headed to a viewpoint and managed to catch a bit of the sunset. And then the storm came in, so we decided it was time to head back for the tastiest Mr. Chippy dinner ever. Today, despite the rain, we're heading on another walk. This walk was going much better than the last one until we came across loads of fallen trees that were completely blocking our path. After trying to find a way round, failing and getting bitten to death, we decided that we'd head back. After batting off hundreds of mosquitoes, we finally made it back to the bike. And on the way back, we saw this poor elephant being ridden, and the man had a spiky hook to pull the elephant's ears. After we'd got back, freshened up, we headed out to watch a sunset in some really cool little huts. Although, as it's rainy season, there wasn't much of a sunset.
Only know you've been high when you're feeling low. Only miss the sun when it starts to snow. Only know you love her when you let her go. And you let her go.
On the way home from watching the sunset, we saw a waffle stall. It was pouring with rain, so we drove straight past. But when we got back, I decided I really wanted a waffle, so Tom went out on a little mission to get one. And the waffle did not disappoint. I was a very happy girl. Today we headed on a riverside walk through Pai.
Oh baby, I love your madness. It's so incredibly beautiful. Oh, you shine like gold, so selfless to all, and wild like an animal. Some would say I'm insane in the right in a way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know, and give me your freedom. Whoa.
After a much more successful walk this time, we headed back to the bike. And then we headed to two huts again to try and catch another sunset. Last time we were here, we noticed how good the food looks, but we'd already eaten, so today we made sure we came hungry. Not much of a sunset, but still a lovely evening. On the way home, we booked our tickets to Chiang Rai. Today started with a laundry run, and then we're heading to Pai Canyon for the second time. We began making our way through the canyon, down some rather sketchy paths.
Nice. Well done.
After clambering our way through, getting very dusty, we gathered some leaves to sit on. I made a nice little seat for a water break and to enjoy the views. After making it back through the canyon, just about, we headed off for some dinner. And it was another Mr. Chippy. What a good way to end the day. Today we woke up and the weather was absolutely awful, so we decided to pay for a day pass at the nearby gym. In the evening, we headed to this groovy bar. Which had such a lovely view, and the cocktails were amazing. Then it was time to head back to pack our bags, as in the morning we're heading to Chiang Rai. Today we head on our travel day up to Chiang Rai. first mode of transport, a minivan, down to Chiang Mai. After a short stop in Chiang Mai, we headed on a bus up to Chiang Rai. Finally arriving in Chiang Rai, we had the loveliest tuk-tuk driver who took us to our hotel. We arrived at our hotel, checked in and treated ourselves to a Mackey's after a really long travel day. This morning we hired a bike and began to explore Chiang Rai. First stop was the Blue Temple. Then we headed to the local shopping centre, where I may have accidentally, on purpose, spent a week's worth of dinner money. After spending the afternoon shopping, we grabbed some dinner and headed back to the hotel. Then we ended the day in the gym. These views definitely make the workout more enjoyable. Today began with a run in the gym, and then we headed off to Tham Luang Cave.
Back in June of 2018, Tham Luang Cave was breaking news all around the world. As 12 young football players celebrate after a match and head into the cave, they plan only to spend an hour or two exploring, but as the rain begins to pour outside, they become trapped. The 12 young boys and their coach will become known as the 13 Boars. Starting an international rescue, the team end up spending 2 weeks trapped inside the cave. Eventually, all the 13 Boars make it out safe and sound, despite being more than 2,300 metres deep inside the dark tunnels of the cave. But unfortunately, a Thai diver, Saman Gunnan, lost consciousness while placing air tanks along the route and passed away, and he is memorialised in a statue. As we were so far north, we decided to do a quick trip into the northernmost mountains of Thailand. We went so far north, in fact, that we managed to reach the Myanmar border. We went along this road for a few kilometres that runs along the Myanmar border. So cool just being able to peek over into another country's mountains.
As we headed back down the mountain, we spotted this beautiful viewpoint. And just so happened that they did really nice drinks and food. These cute kittens were a nice bonus. With full tummies, we made our way back down the mountains to the hotel. And on the way back, there were so many people selling pineapples all along the motorway. We were so confused. Today began at 2:30 a.m. and as you can see, I was highly unimpressed.
Come on, I know you can do it.
I don't want to sleep. 2 hours sleep was not enough.
Please. Please.
After nearly an hour of persuasion and being guilt-tripped, I made it out of bed and we headed on our way to see a sunrise.
We're getting up so early because we're heading to Phu Chi Pha, which is an hour and a half's drive away. Phu Chi Pha is a 1,800 metre tall mountain that overlooks Laos and in fact hangs over the border. On a clear day, the views are spectacular and you can see miles into both Thailand and Laos. Made it.
I'm so glad we got up in the middle of the night to see these spectacular views. We enjoyed them for a whole 5 minutes before freezing and heading back down.
The views on the way back down were nicer than the viewpoint, and we managed to catch a little bit of the sunrise. After a long old journey back to the hotel, we had a much needed nap, and by the time we woke up, it was dinner time. Today we're off on a very wet walk through the jungle to find a waterfall.
After a nice walk through the jungle, we made it to the waterfall, explored a bit and then turned back.
No.
On the walk back to the bike, the heavens opened and we got absolutely drenched. After a very cold and wet journey back, we made it to the hotel. I had an awful earache, so Tom made me a makeshift water bottle with hot water in a plastic bag. Today, we say a very sad goodbye to Thailand as we head off to Laos. First off, a 2-hour bus to the Laos border.
The local buses in Thailand really are no frills, but you get what you pay for, and this was only a couple of quid. Having spent a lovely 3 months in Thailand, it now feels like we're leaving home to go travelling again. We arrived at the border and took our final steps on Thai ground before we head across to Laos. We completed all the paperwork and jumped on a mandatory bus across the Thai-Lao Friendship Bridge. Crossing the Mekong River and officially landing in another country, we're excited to see what adventures Laos brings us.